Hi, everyone. I'm Jimmy Young, the founder of Pro Cannabis Media, and this is an interview with Bill Perrier. He is with the Charles River Insurance Brokerage Group, and he is one of our experts, part of the PCM Experts Club. Bill, as an insurance broker, explain to us a little bit about the application process. If I want to get into the cannabis business and I'm required to have an insurance certificate, I call you, and then what happens?
Well, that's right, Jimmy, and it's a pleasure to be here, and it's good to see you. I know we met back in February, and thanks for having me on the program. You're right. The application is one of the most serious things you can do as a business owner. The application can be long, and you need someone who knows the ins and outs of the paperwork. You also need to know someone who can guide you through the application, who's done hundreds of these, and then more importantly, has the relationships with the underwriter at the insurance carrier, because they get stacks of these on their desk every week. And if it's not a typed, clean, easy to read application, it goes to the bottom.
Absolutely. We don't want to be on the bottom. One of the other things we discussed before we get on this call was a lot of people are coming into the cannabis space from other parts of business or other parts of their careers. What are some of the challenges as you enter the cannabis space before you even start to explain why you're doing it? But there are certain unique aspects about this that all people who are coming into this business for the first time need to know.
Yeah, that's a great question. Thanks, Jimmy. A lot of people underestimate the amount of money it takes to do this right, whether it's private money, street money, maxing out credit cards. It takes a lot of money. It's like going to New York City the first time. Someone once told me when I was a teenager, bring a lot of money to New York City. That's the same thing here. You need a lot of money to get going. The other thing is, you're right. If you own maybe a restaurant or maybe a small hobby shop and you want to get into the business, I think that's exciting and that's great. But you may have bought insurance before, maybe a small policy for $3,000, $4,000 for the year to cover your restaurant or hobby shop. This is a lot more intense. Even the smallest policies can run anywhere to $15,000 to $20,000 on the small side. And I get a lot of sticker shock from people because they just aren't realizing they're dealing with a not questionable product, but they're really not dealing with a product that's widely accepted by everybody. It's getting better. The insurance underwriters are coming around, but it's a completely different animal. And again, you need to have that expert, that person who's done it before, and there's not a lot of us out there. So I'm happy to be able to service the community when we get contacted.
Let me ask you a question. If you follow the news at all, we've seen devastation on the West Coast, and I know that you're more of a local Massachusetts-based operation, correct? But I'm also guessing that there are outside farmers in the state that we're in, Massachusetts, that are looking to get some insurance for their outdoor farms. Now, we all recognize that the fires of California and the West Coast are kind of unique to the climate out there. But what are the challenges when it comes to outdoor farming, finding the proper insurance protection?
Another great question. You're right. We're sensitive to what's going on the West Coast. We don't think we'll see those types of fires here. But in the insurance business, we always worry about fire. That's unfortunately one of the most devastating things, both for property and for human life, of course. Crop coverage is available. It can be expensive, but he also thinks it has high deductibles. In farming, folks, a lot of times we're run on very small margins. They're kind of like grocery stores. The farms run, they worry about the weather, just in general, the crop. So because it can be high priced, it can be high deductibles, some people will roll the dice and not get it. The other interesting thing about fire coverage, it's not necessarily the fire. It's the ash and the chemicals from the fire spray that might be 10 miles away, 20 miles away, the ash and the smoke that gets onto the product, and then the product is useless. The other real serious thing is sometimes the town will make you evacuate the property. They'll say the fire's coming, you got to get out, and then you can't get back to the property to water the crops. So simply by not watering them, you lose it. Right. What we worry about in insurance are atmospheric conditions. So that whole evacuation on the water thing, that's a real gray area with a lot of people.
Absolutely. Another new item here in the Bay State of Massachusetts is the advent of delivery licenses, and the social equity applicants are getting first crack at these very valuable delivery licenses. How is that going to work as far as insurance goes? Do you have an idea yet?
I do, and we've been kind enough to been involved with the to be brought into the social equity program on some of their meetings and meet some of the people in the program. I am working with a handful of them, and again, the number one thing we're seeing is a lot of folks just don't realize the financial wherewithal it takes to do it right. I'll give you an example. A lot of folks think you can just use your Toyota Corolla to deliver the product. You need to get a commercial auto policy, which just by its own meaning is more than a personal auto policy. And then, of course, the cars need to be tricked out with cameras, GPS systems, all sorts of other things that, again, the state kind of mandates on people. So if you have 4 or 5 cars, you're looking at anywhere from $15,000 to $20,000 just on the cars. Then, of course, you have to get workers' compensation for your employees. And again, not many people even want to give you workers' compensation, so you may have to go to the state and be in the assigned risk pool. And then, of course, if you have cargo, the cargo policy, which can be very expensive. So you can see how, again, if you and I had a place and we're doing delivery, very easily we're up to $35,000, $40,000 just in insurance, let alone the rent and the place they're going to lease out to keep the cars and things like that. So there's a lot of people that have great intentions. They have great dreams. We want them to be successful. We love to work with them and guide them through the process, and we are doing that for a handful of people. But again, that one theme is it just takes so much money to do it right and to get going.
And of course, one thing I've got to ask, of course, you're based here in Massachusetts. Does this mean you're only limited to working with customers from the Bay State, or can you offer policies to other states in New England or even all over the country?
Yeah, thanks for that question. It's a lot of folks think that because we're Mass-based that we're just Mass. And again, a lot of our stuff is in Massachusetts, but we can do anywhere where marijuana is legal, either medicinal or recreational. I think there's only about 8 states left, maybe, right, that don't have
11. I don't even have enough fingers anymore.
Okay.
All right. Let's face it, this past week, we've had the great state of Vermont.
That's right.
Finally passed it and made it an opening up the adult use recreational market and a medicinal retail market. So I'm guessing you might be getting a few calls from the Green Mountain State.
I hope so. We even have a client. I have a client in Missouri. So believe it or not. So I guess my point is, again, we do most of our stuff in Mass. We're getting into Maine now, of course. But we can do anywhere that someone wants to have a phone conversation, have a consult. We just hop on a Zoom call and answer all their questions for them.
And of course, Bill, how do people get in touch with you?
Right. The best way to get in touch with me is my cell phone, 508-740-3082. That's 508-740-3082.
And that's Bill Perrier. He's with the Charles River Insurance Brokerage Group. I'm Jimmy Young, the founder of Pro Cannabis Media, and this has been an interview in the Experts Club. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching.
We are Pro Cannabis Media.